Alright,
Is it going? Here, looks a little...
yeah, it's on focus too.
It looks slightly... There.
Have Rachel sit here, at least somebody good looking.
Hi, my name is Dakota, and I'm here with some of my buds, Raghu and Ramesh and Koi, and we're just hanging out in the middle of some mountains are surrounding us in the middle of Ojai, post-rain. It's a little chilly.
Yep.
So mushrooms kind of gave me this this experience of transcendence or something that it really solidified to me. Like, I was kind of getting into Buddhism and finding my way into the Hare Krishna stuff and Hinduism, and then I took mushrooms and it blasted me out and just sort of solidified that, like, okay, there is actually something to this. There is something beyond myself and beyond, you know, everything that I thought was true was shown to me to be completely not true. So, and there was a story that I read, or maybe I heard it somewhere, where you took your dad to go meet Maharaji, and you gave him acid, and I think my viewers would really resonate that, because they're a bunch of acid rainbow hippie kids. So I think that's a good story.
You know, Ramdas used to go to the Rainbow.
Those rainbow gatherings?
Yeah,
he did.
Like
I've never gone to those. Yeah, I would like to go.
Okay, that story.
I feel like it's a good one.
Yeah, it starts with the fact that my father and I did not get along very well.
Which a lot of us can
Sounds
resonate with
familiar.
that.
Yeah, and that's a wild understatement. I did some bad shit as a teenager, stealing cars, his car. So we were really at odds. But I went to India and, of course, met Maharaji. And I did write back to him. I said, you know, because I told my brother to come over, so he came over. And we were writing back going, you know, this is pretty amazing, you wouldn't believe it, you know, that kind of thing. Next thing I know, he sends a letter to us saying, I'm coming, I'm going to come visit you. Then I kind of backtracked and went, oh, Jesus, no, that's not, I won't be, I don't want to have to handle dealing with my father, with, you know. So anyhow, he shows up though, and off we go to see Maharaji in a town called Vrindavan. And which is Krishna's place. Yeah, yeah, it's this amazing place. It's like being in, you know, 16th century or something. And there we were, and he comes, and I come to see Maharaji first because my father's trying to figure out where he should put his shoes. He's got lace shoes and all that outside the other side of the wall. Of course, Maharaji says, "Your father's here?" We didn't send him a telegram, nothing.
And stuff. Magic?
No. It's just, you know, when a being is at one with it all, however you want to call it, all information is accessible, and that information gets accessed in order to free the devotee, period. So this only happens, it's supposed to happen, and it was my karma to hear that, my father's karma eventually for what happened to him. It's not, nobody's sitting there doing and goes to some book to find out, you know, there isn't anything, it's not understandable by the mind, but it happened to all of us.
Called siddhas, right?
They're called siddhas, yeah.
Siddhas.
Yeah, not saint. I mean, he's commonly known as a saint, but in reality, he was a siddha, or completely awakened one, like Buddha. So anyhow, my father comes along and he says to my father, so you got on the plane in Montreal, stopped in Germany, you sat next to an Indian businessman, and my father's jaw dropped. I mean, no, there was no way he could process that information. Yeah. And then he started jiving me, and he went, yeah, you only love your father because he gives you money, right? And I'm going, well, Baba, I don't know about that. And my father's like, yeah, motherfucker, you know, that kind of thing. And suddenly Maharaji turns to me and goes, did you give your father the medicine? And I go, yeah, no, he had a cold, I gave him some, he'll be okay. Night. Ramdas yogi medicine. I went, acid? And my father went, LSD? He was a 50-odd-year-old businessman, right? So Maharaji said, okay, well, you go to Benares, which is a place where people have gone to die for the last 5,000 years, constantly burning bodies on the shores of the river. You go there and then meet me in a week in Allahabad, another city. So my brother, myself, my eventual wife, and my father, off we went, and we were on a houseboat about 200 yards in Manarkanika, 200 yards from the burning ghats. And he's waking up in the morning, you know, brushing your teeth, shit is going by, but also dead body and dead body parts that don't get burned because they're not wealthy enough to get enough wood.
Wow.
And he's
Most of us can't
Rats
even
all the
imagine
way
what
through
that
the-
is
The
like.
Western world has no idea what that
No
even
idea.
means.
No, you have no idea. You know, we would sit there and watch the bodies burn all day long. It was quite a meditation on Bung,
Yeah, I bet.
which is a whole other story. Anyhow, I'm walking down the street, and certainly, of course, I had no idea how to get any acid in that moment. Uma, a woman that we knew from the satsang, do you happen to have any acid? Pops up in front. Oh yeah, I got one hit left. Oh great. And we go to give it to my father on the houseboat. And the next thing you know, we're all sitting around him going, so what's happening? you know, when people, first time they turn on to acid, you're
Yeah.
kind of trying to
Yeah.
want to make sure that they... Anyhow, the long and short...
Didn't make him paranoid or anything.
No.
Everyone's just watching him.
Yeah. Anyhow, the next thing that happened was he said, let's go for a walk. And they came on, and we went through the streets of Benares. The first thing we hit was a dead donkey right on the street. The next thing was a dead man. And they were putting money next to his body, so enough wood could be bought. He was itinerant to be able to do that. And my father had a complete death trip. My father was a World War II bomber pilot for the RCAF, Royal Canadian Air Force. And he was the only one or two left that didn't die in his squadron. You know, one of those crazy things. He thought he wasn't afraid to die. That's how strong his ego was. Well, that got destroyed by this acid trip and Benares. And then we went to see Maharaji, who you'd expect to say, right? How was your trip?
Yeah.
Not a word. You know what he said? The water in Benares, the Ganga, is very pure, isn't it? Like, yeah. And then my father, we sat down in front of him, and he said to my father, you have a farm in Canada? My father had a horse farm with Belgians, draft horses, and he had one riding horse. And that horse had gotten a bad leg, and they wanted to euthanize it, and he wouldn't let it happen. He got up every night, all night, putting clay on it and all that stuff, and he saved the horse. Maharaji told him that whole story.
Wow.
Forgot about that part.
And my father, that was it. He fell apart. He's crying. And,
What was that like for you to witness your dad in that sort of state?
well, it changed my whole life with him in that moment,
Still?
literally.
You guys still got...
Yeah, he left
Okay.
a couple of years ago. And
Changed his life pretty
and
much.
changed
didn't
his
it?
life completely. He went back to India to be with Maharaji for
Wow.
months.
Amazing.
After. My whole
And your
family
brother was there too, right?
My
Yeah,
brother,
so that-
my sister, their
That's like my
husbands and
dream, to
wives.
get my whole family to... I've been trying to get my mom to sell her stuff and move to India for like a year now.
It'll happen eventually.
So this was a total grace for me
Wow.
because I was at such odds with my father. From then on, we still would fight, but we had just got closer.
Yeah.
And, he saved my family. Period.
Amazing.
I was thinking last night, because we were sleeping out in the van in the parking lot. I was just like, man, it's so crazy that we're here because of Maharaji. It just happened to lay out this way, and now here I am.
Especially
Yeah,
for the
it's
fact
right.
that
It's
we're
insane.
Right. Well, it's the same way we got to Maharaji.
Right.
We're like, holy shit! What?
I think what's crazy though is
All
he's been
this-
gone all this time, and we're still coming into this, place because of it.
Yeah,
Decades and
well,
decades later.
That's the most amazing thing. Actually, there was
It
one,
really, it is
That is the-
amazing. It's
that is
actually,
the biggest
that's an
miracle.
amazing thing that's happening.
There's one we're telling stories, and we have these mentors, and one of them is his name is Dada Mukherjee. He wrote 2 books about Maharaji. By His Grace, The Near and the Dear. You can get them on ramdas.org shop. They are 2 of the greatest books describing who this
I've never
man
read them,
is.
but I've been hearing you talk about it all
Yeah,
weekend.
you
We'll throw
must
them
do
up in
that.
the video as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, absolutely.
He was an economics professor in India. And
Yeah.
He was a very sweet man. And he was so close to Maharaji that Ramdas has told us occasionally, but Maharaji would call him, and you would see Dada turn in the half second before Maharaji called him.
Wow.
Yeah, he was so tuned in, Dada. I mean, but his story. He went to Dakshineshwar, which is where Sri Ramakrishna's
Yeah.
ashram is,
The Kali
near
ashram.
the Kali ashram near Calcutta, where Trevor, who's here, goes all the time.
Calcutta's where Sri Ramakrishna is from.
Yes,
correct?
yeah. So he went there just to pay respects. He wasn't religious when he was just out of college, and he went there just because of his
Yeah.
mother and aunt were very religious. And then suddenly a sadhu came up to him and said, I want to give you a mantra. And he wasn't really interested, but he did it out of respect to his
Yeah.
family. And he took the mantra, and it was a mantra to be used when he took a bath every day, and he did it. 30 years later, 25, 30 years
Something like
later,
that, yeah,
something like
25
that, he was living in Allahabad as a economics professor. It's a completely straight job, everything, still not interested. His wife got him to go over to a neighbor's house. They said, oh, there's this saint there, we should see him. He did it because his wife wanted him to. And then the next thing you know, it was Maharaji who said to him, are you still doing the mantra? 30 years? I mean, okay. And then I'm going to go live with you. And then he started staying with Dada, and that's where we
Jeez.
met him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but why I brought him up is because we brought him to America. He came to America, and he saw all people like you back then, right? This is in the 80s or something. You weren't even born yet. And he said, you know, and you'll read these books, the miracles are staggering what Maharaji did with him. He said, I've seen so many miracles of Maharaji, but none is as great as what I'm experiencing here with you, with these people. Those people who have as much connection to Maharaji as I do, and never met him in the body, that's the biggest miracle. And that miracle has been going on
Yeah.
Ever since.
ever
I
since.
Here, this is here.
Yeah,
this is,
it's here.
This is
It's
the
right here
physical
now, yeah.
manifestation of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
So
like
we're pretty fortunate.
Me too. I feel fortunate. Last night I was just like having like that realization, like the pressure of it crushing me. Like, oh God, this is all because of Maharaji.
So how do you
Cool.
experience that presence of his?
Here,
Yeah.
or just in general in my life?
General in your life.
How have I experienced it? Is that what your question was?
Yeah. Well, how do you relate to Maharaji?
Well, it was mostly through the psychedelic stuff, which led me to Ram Dass and Tim Leary, and that led me to, I was having these awakenings from psychedelics, like, and it was starting to click for me. And then I find out that, Ram Dass went to India and met this guru named Neem Karoli Baba, and then, the rest was just history, and I just really just dove deep into whatever my practice is. And, I've had my different forms of gurus come in my life, but it always comes back to my roots, which was like Maharaji, which is sort of what got the first person that initiated me into this kind of stuff in Ram Dass. So I mean, I feel it.
So you feel like he started you on a spiritual
totally.
path?
And that's the essence of my being now in my life.
And I think that's what's so important for the youth to realize too, is because I think same with me is a lot of us, especially young, when we're first getting into spirituality, Be Here Now is like the go-to book.
Yeah,
for
and you
most
went
young
and
people.
seen Maharaji when you were my age at 24. You told me that on Skype, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you told me that, I was like, that's so cool.
So what I always think of is once you read Be Here Now, I think you see Neem Karoli Baba in the beginning, right? But you don't really think too much about it if you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's what's so impressive about it is it kind of marinates for a while. And the more you read Be Here Now, the more sense it makes.
exactly.
And then eventually you start to realize this all just came from
Isn't it?
Maharaji.
Yeah, I know.
So it's this guy. It's all,
Yeah, same thing
Right
that
there.
happened to us is
Yeah.
happening
Well,
again.
we were the same age you are now
Yeah.
when we
exactly.
tuned into it and went to India.
It's so cool. I'm
Not-
thinking about
not
going
a
in September.
dissimilar,
That's when I'm
situation.
planning on
You
going.
are?
I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
We'll
yeah.
go.
You'll,
gotta go
you'll
soon.
call us because you might.
Oh, I'll call you.
We'll
I'll
be
call you
there
for sure.
in the end of September.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I was
coming.
thinking, September, October. So I'll be giving you
All
both
right,
a call.
well, you give us a
So okay, my question was for you. What's your favorite memory of like Maharaji?
Well, this
Maybe
is
something
sort
you
of
haven't told. Maybe like a personal favorite or something.
This is sort of a subtle one, but
Yeah.
there was one day when we were sitting around him, and most of the time there were pieces of fruit flying around. He was throwing prasad at people, and constant conversations and back and forth, and people would hear what they needed to. Sometimes he'd say something to one person, and somebody else would know that it applied
for
to
them,
them.
yeah.
But at this particular day, we were sitting out in the back, and there was this silence for a few minutes, which was unusual, to put it mildly, because he never kind of let us meditate.
Talking all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Blue Street.
But there was this space, and it was just, I was feeling this love emanating from him, and it was more love than I had ever felt from anyone in my life before. And I looked around and I realized that everybody sitting there was feeling that, the same thing. And he was like, it was
It's
like
still
the sun.
radiating here.
Yeah. And it was just, that was the quality of it. It was like sunshine, just coming out. And, you didn't have to love him back. It was not like that.
He just loved to love.
Yeah, the love that loves to love.
Mm-hmm.
So just the love itself is what you're carrying with you.
Which is a
the hook.
shit word,
that's
too. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
In this culture,
Yeah.
is like, you say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's
Who are you in love with?
interpersonal. You love me, I'll love you back. It has
What
no-
about you, Cora? How did you find, what was your first experience with Maharaji?
I think one of my favorite experiences actually just happened here. I'll tell this. Like, my first experience was just kind of, like I said, when I first started getting into spirituality, one of the books I picked up was Be Here Now.
I actually didn't read Be Here Now until like about a year ago.
See, what's funny is I read it, but I was like, okay, that's cool. This is interesting spiritual stuff, and I didn't think too much about it. And then, over time, I got a lot more into Buddhism, other books. But each time, I always kept Be Here Now on my desk, so I'd always come back to it. And I'd read a little bit, like, okay, that makes more sense.
Well,
now.
the thing that's great about Be
That
Here
makes
Now
more
is that
sense
it's
now.
written for us to understand it. It's
Yeah,
not all complex
exactly.
Sanskrit and
But
like.
the better you get, I think, at understanding the concepts in Be Here Now, the more it becomes simpler and simpler until it kind of starts to click a lot. And that's when I started really understanding it. And then, actually, like I said, going back to seeing Neem Karoli Baba and being like, this is insane that he was able to translate so much of this wisdom from Maharaji, into a
exactly.
Western format.
Yep.
But what's funny is the first I think I actually felt Maharaji like seriously was in here on the first day, because I've been vegan for about a year now, so I have no dairy, no nothing, and I'm very particular about it. Not too particular, but I make sure I cook my food, I make sure of everything that I eat doesn't have anything in it. And I think within my first 2 hours being here, the first night of the retreat, I was sitting in the kitchen and they brought out chai, and I was like, okay, cool. And I wasn't thinking, I was just drinking the chai. And I was going for my second cup, and they brought out the cow's milk sign.
as he's pouring the second cup.
Yeah, and then, instead of getting mad, I just knew it was him messing with me. I was like, oh, you're vegan. All right, well, here's some, drink this,
And then you walk into the
Drink this
main
real
room and all these
quickly.
pictures of him are just staring
Yeah,
at you.
just
with, like,
staring
this
at me like, oh,
smile,
yeah.
this little-
How about now? So I could really feel it in that moment. I was like, oh, of course. Of course this happens, it doesn't happen for the whole year, and then I spend one day here, and he already messes with me like that.
That's great.
So that was a great thing. It was so funny, luckily.
Yeah. So I think that can wrap up my video. We're about at 20 minutes. So yeah, I'm having a great time here, hanging out with all my new friends, and I don't know what to say. This is a blessing to me. I mean, these people have changed my life in literally the most essential ways. So I have no words to even describe what it means for me to be here on a couch with them.
May it keep changing.
Yeah, constantly. So reconnect with love and express that out into the universe, and I think everything should be okay. My name's Dakota. Any of you BeHereNow.net.org?
No, Be Here Now. BeHereNowNetwork.com.
Okay, there it is.
And ramdas.org. Go to each of them and join the mailing list so you can get all the information you'll need about what we're up to and offerings and this retreat, more of these retreats.
They give a lot of information too. I'm subscribed.
And there's an app. I'm on the app. The app sends you daily
the Heart
inspiration.
Mind app is fabulous.
Yeah,
you
get daily
all the
inspiration all day.
podcasts and everything else.
Yep, and Mind Rolling Podcast, Raghu has one. I know a lot of you guys that watch my channel watch Duncan. The new one is Duncan, right?
And
You
the
said
new
you just
one
did-
is with Duncan, Trussell, and Pete Holmes. It's a riot, and we talk about some of the stuff we're talking about right here through their lens. And there's also Ram Dass. We have an app for him, ramdas.org, which is good for both.
You know, the first time we talked...
that's not ramdas.org. Ram Dass app, both iOS and Android. And then, what? You told me to say it.
Oh, she's back
Rachel,
there.
yeah,
She's back
we
there with
did.
sign language.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, the first time that we talked, which you probably don't remember, Duncan actually put us in contact with each other. He was trying to somehow manage to squeeze me into the Maui retreat.
Oh shit, that's
Yeah,
you?
that's me.
I didn't know you're. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay,
just been
we'll
trying to
come in the
weasel our way
spring.
in
We told
for-
you to come in
for
the
months
spring.
now.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Finally
you-
managed to crack through.
so Duncan is almost kind of the reason that I'm here in some way, I would say.
Yeah. Duncan is the big connector for a lot of what's going on these days. He's our guru,
Yeah, he's our guru.
Duncan.
So Jai, thanks for watching. See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Amazing.